Good afternoon, everyone, and a warm welcome back to Clique's virtual wine tasting. This month is a busy month for France, one of the largest producers of the wines in the world. And this is the month of harvest for them. And we are very happy to have Chateau Troplong Mondot to share with us virtually the activities that's happening at the Chateau this very moment. So for the last 2 weeks where we have conversations with Ferreol, we talk about what can we show? What can we show our clients? What can we show wine collectors? What is new that's happening across the world right now? And we said that this is a perfect month to tell them what is harvesting like at the Chateau. And we've shortlisted a couple of dates. We try to narrow it down to where the activities is most vibrant and the vineyards. So after a couple of weeks of planning, here we are. So without further ado, let's introduce Mr. Ferreol Dufault, the Commercial Director of Chateau Troplong Mondot, to start today's virtual wine tasting with us. Ferreol, over to you.
Hello, everybody. So I cannot see you because I'm the other side. I'm on the other side of the screen, but I'm very happy to be here with you virtually. But it's a live session, I will say. You can see now that all the harvesters, the end pickers, are there. We started the harvest already 1 week ago at Troplong Mondot, 10 days ago, and we're still harvesting the Merlot. Before we will do the Cabernet Franc and Cabernet Sauvignon. So just before, still there is some grapes. I will show you a few grapes first of all, and then I will show you the guys in the vineyard. If you have any question, I'm here for you. Is it clear? The video is good? It's a good quality?
Yes, it's very clear.
So here we are on the northern part of our vineyard. Chateau Troplong Mondot, it's one of the largest vineyards of Saint-Émilion. We are Saint-Émilion first Grand Cru classé. Troplong Mondot total is 38 hectares of vineyard. We are on the northern part, the northern Merlot on our limestone, clay soils. Here, this is the clay soil. Because we have two kinds of soil at Troplong Mondot, we have clay on the top of the hill, and then on the slopes we have the limestone. Clay will bring the power to the Merlot, to the Cabernet Sauvignon, and the limestone will bring the freshness and the crispiness, minerality to the wine. At Troplong Mondot, we are kind of very traditional, so we use only hand pickers for the harvest, no machine, zero machine. Same for the work of the soil. We use horses. And so we have a team of 30, 40 hand pickers, you can see here. And they are picking grapes all day long, every day for 1 month total. So this is the first step to make a good wine. First of all, making good grapes and having the best hand pickers to cut the best grapes. And then we will see the winery. Let me show you a grape.
Ferreol?
Yep.
Ferreol. So typically, how many pickers do you have in one harvest?
Sorry?
How many pickers would you have?
We have 35 pickers.
35, okay.
Yeah. Just to show you here, how we decide to make sure that the grapes is fully mature, fully ripe. We just have to crush it like this. And you see the seeds. When the seeds are not too stick to the flesh, it means that the berry is fully ripe, fully mature to make a good wine. So this is the way we decide. Plus, we taste it, of course. If the seeds taste like hazelnut, like toasted hazelnut, it means that yes, the grape is fully perfect to be harvested and then to make wine. Now I will invite you to have a trip in our vineyard. We'll take a little car to visit the vineyard and to have a look of our big garden. I told you we have 38 hectares of vineyard. 85% of the vineyard is Merlot. So Merlot will bring the fruit, will bring the, I would say a bit of kind of large wine, and then we will have 30% of Cabernet Sauvignon planted on the top of the hill on clay soil, and then we have 2% of Cabernet Franc to bring some backbone to the wine. I take back the phone. Up. Here again. Up. Let's go. Everything is okay? Any question?
Yes, everything is okay. Actually, we have one question here privately, and he's asking, at what stage are you now for the harvest?
The stage for us, we already harvested like kind of 60% of the vineyard. We started 10 days ago. We will finish the Merlot tomorrow, and we will start with the Cabernet within 10 days.
I see. And another question is, since of the COVID-19, do you accept tourists to help you with the harvest? I mean, picking up with the grapes.
This is a very good question. They are not tourists. They are people living in the European Union, so they can travel. So today we have a lot of Spanish people. We have a few Spanish people and French people. We have both of them. We are on the south part of France, near Spain. So that's why we have Spanish people in the vineyard. So there is no tourism anyway. Only people from the European Union can travel. But we have no people from Asia, no people from the US. This year is a very, very special year.
Okay. And where are you heading right now?
Pardon? Sorry?
Where are you heading now?
We are going to the top of the hill. I will show you with the other camera. Up. Here you can see we are on the western part of the vineyard. Here you have the village of Saint-Emilion. You can see the village from the chateau, from the vineyard. We are going on the top of the hill because, as you know, or maybe not, Troplong Mondot is located on the top of the hill, on the highest point of the region, at 114 meters of altitude. It's not very high. This is not a mountain, but for the Bordeaux region, it's a lot. Imagine that Bordeaux is at 10 meters of altitude, and the village of Saint-Emilion is at 80 meters, and Troplong Mondot, we are at 114 meters. If you have a look here, this is the village of Saint-Emilion. And if you go straight on this way, you will arrive at Chateau Pavie-Maquin. If you go on the other way, here you have Chateau Troplong Mondot. All right?
Yes. So this is where the Cabernet, the Cab Sav is.
Now we go now to see the Cab Sauv. Now we are still with our Merlot. So we go straight to the south part of our vineyard. Our neighbors is Chateau Pavie and Chateau Pavie de Cesse. And we still are on the clay soil because we are near the top. If you go down the hill, then you will arrive on our limestone soil.
So what is the average? What is the average age of the vines?
The average age of the vine is around 30 years old. It's a young vineyard. The history of the chateau is very old. I mean, our chateau exists since more than 300 years.
Yes, it is.
The vineyard was planted 30 years ago. So we have a vine from the youngest were planted in 2016, and the oldest in 1982.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So because if you look at the history of Troplong Mondot, it has exchanged a few ownership, a few hands, and it is a large property.
I'm sorry.
Now, if you look at the history of Chateau Troplong Mondot, yeah, basically it has exchanged a few hands in terms of management styles, in terms of the directions of the chateau.
That's true. I mean, our chateau exists for more than 300 years, okay, but we had many owners, and the last owner is today is a French company. It's a French insurance company, and the chateau was owned before by a French family, a Saint-Emilion family, for more than 80 years. And in 2017, they sold the chateau to this French company.
Yes, correct.
The former owner was Madame Valette, Christine Valette. She was, I would say, the princess of Saint-Emilion. She was very famous. She made a lot for Troplong Mondot. She made a lot for the vineyard. Unfortunately, she passed away in 2014. So her husband decided to sell the chateau in 2017. It means that now we have a new management team. The new CEO is Mr. Aymeric de Gironde, who was before the GM of Chateau Cos d'Estournel. I arrived from Burgundy. I was working in Burgundy for the Domaine du Comte Liger-Belair. Sorry, it's a bit bumpy. We are in the vineyard.
So
we will reach. And so it means that now, for now, 3 years, we decided to make a different kind of wine, a different kind of way to read the vineyard. So we invested a lot into the vineyard to replant some vines, to work more into the vineyard, and we invested a lot to make a new buildings, a new winery. So if we stop for a few minutes here, now we are near the top of the hill. We are on the very deep clay, blue clay soil, and here in front of us you can see not the chateau, but you can see the restaurant and the office. Because yes, our core business remain, of course, the wine. We produce some wine, but then we try to be a bit smart. So we have a restaurant, because after a big tasting, you want to have a big meal. And then when you have your big meal and you had a lot of bottles of wine, you want to sleep and have a nap. So we have few hotel rooms at the chateau. So we try to open to a different way of business. Of course, wine is the first way of business. Then we have the restaurant, who was before a Michelin star restaurant. We are under construction, so we will try to get again this Michelin star next year. Plus, we have 6 hotel rooms at the chateau.
Right.
We are on the top of the hill, and we are there where is the deep clay, 16 meters deep clay, and here we have this fabulous soil. You can see here with the Cabernet Sauvignon right there. They are there, the Cabernet Sauvignon. Little berries, they look fabulous, and we have those very special stones as well. Those stones are flint, and this is kind of unique. There is nobody else who have those flint in the vineyard in Saint-Emilion. This is something very special that only Troplong Mondot got. So this is flint on clay. That's why Troplong Mondot wines got this power, got this minerality. Even more, since we are there at Troplong Mondot, we decided I told you, to work more in the vineyard and less in the winery. So we want to make wines which are the reflect of our soil. We have 2 kinds of soils. We have clay, which bring the power, limestones, which bring the minerality, and in the end, we want to find those sensations, those tastes into the bottle. Let's go to the winery. Any question?
Not so far.
Okay, why don't we discuss a little bit about the soil? Okay, because if you talk about Saint-Emilion, you talk about Ferreol, we are all talking about that special blue clay. And why don't you tell us a little bit more about the soil?
So, blue clay. We have blue clay here. There's blue clay in Petrus as well. Those blue clay is because we have non-eroded soil through the years. If you go on the flat part of Saint-Emilion, they have a bit of clay as well. but it's more sand and clay. Here, this is very deep blue clay. I mean, when you walk in the vineyard, when it's rainy, I can tell you, your shoes or your boots are full of mud, and you have 10 kilos per legs. It's tough to walk, very tough to walk.
Okay, so we have a question here coming from Mr. Jonasco, and the question is, how would you compare 2020 with 2019?
That's a good question. 2020 is under construction, I would say. So today we only can taste the juice. We have, the wine is not made, so the wine is not in the barrel. 1919 is already in the barrel, so we have the final wine to taste. In terms, we can compare today only the weather. And the weather in 1919 was very hot for June and July, and very cold during winter. So we were waiting for some wines which were quite hot, and finally we had a lot of freshness because in August the weather was quite cool. In 2020 it was very different. 2020 the weather was quite, I will say, cool all year long. We had no real winter. So the plant was growing quite fast and quite quickly. The flower of the plant was there quite quickly as well.
Oh no, I just want to interrupt this. Your whatever that we are looking at, does Troplong Mondot has a nursery? Is that a nursery?
This is not nursery. This is the new plant. We planted 2 years ago. So this is Cabernet Sauvignon for the next step of the chateau. I mean, this is plot we bought 3 years ago. This is a small chateau we bought 2 years ago. It's our neighbor, and we planted Cabernet Sauvignon there for the next evolution of the chateau.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt that. So you were telling
us.
No,
don't worry. Don't worry. Feel free. So we are now in the winery. I will show you a few things. Let me just hear my my earphones because it's quite noisy and I will not hear you anymore. So you see, yes, this is baby plants, and they are planted 2 years ago, and they already give few berries. You see that?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is Cabernet Sauvignon. This soil is also clay, but if you walk for I would say 20 more meters, you will be again on limestones, and then we planted Cabernet Franc a bit far.
Right. Do you think Troplong Mondot will actually consider having their own nursery to be able to? Yeah.
Today we work with for the Cabernet Franc. We work with some guys in the Loire Valley because they are the king of the Cabernet Franc.
Mm-hmm.
For the Merlot, we have a very good rootstock. So yes, we found we decided to use our rootstock to make babies and then to plant it.
So you're bringing us to the winery now.
Yes. So you saw the grapes. They were in the vineyard, and now people are. This is the sorting table right here.
It's harvested in bunches, in full clusters, whole clusters.
No. First of all, the sorting table, and then we use machine. You can say hello to Remy. Right here is the big boss of the winery. So then we use a machine, and we take off all the clusters. See?
Right.
Grapes are coming from here. Then it's a roller coaster for grapes.
Okay, and then it comes down and you do the sorting table, and it removes this stage. It removes the stems, right? And
yeah, it removes all the clusters. We only keep berries like this.
Does the berries go through optical sorting after that?
And then It's an optical sorting machine to just keep the best berries, but not only the best. I mean, to keep even the not ripe enough berries to make sure that the wine will taste the vintage. We don't want to make a full body wine only with mature berries and so on. We want to keep everything to make sure that the wine will taste the vintage. So we need as well a bit of green berries. We need a bit of pink berries, and not only the perfectly mature berries.
Yeah. What can you go back to the optical sorting? Okay, because my experience with the sorting machine, right? Yeah, must be about 5 or 6 years ago when I was in Bordeaux, and somebody introduced me, one of the winery introduced me to this sorting machine. The first impression I had, right, was if every one of us has watched Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, there was this scene where it was sorting the bad nuts, and the bad nuts are being flicked off into the center. I'm not sure whether all of you watch Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, but that was the thing that I remember of. Because this optical machine basically goes through, I think either laser density or something to be able to flick the bad berries away, right?
There is different kind of machine. This one is not a density machine. This one is made by it's a laser. It's a laser.
Yeah.
And we see we can choose right here. How is the berries? If the berries is a bit dry, if the berries is not so dry, if it's a green berry, a pink berry. So now, if you read it, you can see that we don't want to have any snail. We don't want green things. We don't want those kind of berries, dry berries. We only keep those berries and the red berries.
And then you will have this like air jet or something like that actually shoots away the bad berries, something like that, right?
Yeah, it's the bad berries are going right here.
Yeah, so this was the exact scene for me was Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. how you actually sort out the berries.
Hey, sorry, I could just go out. So sorry, what do you mean?
No, I was saying that what reminded me of this conversation was Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. There was this scene where you sort out the bad berries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a good way to. So this is technology for us is kind of amazing because it helps to be more precise. We don't want to go too far in terms of technology, but I mean this one is quite useful. At the same time, we don't use this machine to sort everything. We keep a bit of everything. We want to have the real taste of the vintage. Any question?
Any questions? No. I think we're all pretty amazed at how the entire operation is running in the chateau. So I think for a property of this size, you know, you use technology to actually help in certain areas. So in certain areas, like in the vineyards, you maintain the tradition. You use horses to till the land, so that you don't compact the soil. You respect the nature. You respect the terroir. You use and in areas to be able to take care of a property that large and to be able to produce that amount of wines. You have today's machines, like optical machines, sorting machines, to actually help as best as possible. Yeah.
To be very frank, I mean the most important means the vineyard.
Yeah.
I'm from Burgundy, so maybe I have this way of thinking. But yes, the vineyard, we have to remain traditional. I mean, we cannot use machine to make what people can do. And we use horses for a few good reasons. First of all, because it's better for our soil. I told you we have a lot of clay. So imagine Bordeaux is more rainy than London. It rains more in Bordeaux, in Saint-Emilion, than in London. So our clay can be very humid. And when you drive with a tractor in the vineyard, you will make kind of like a pot, like a pottery. It's very, very hard, and the water cannot go deep into the soil. And that's why we use horses, which are lighter than tractors, and plus they are cheaper than tractors because we don't use any gas or gasoline. And then it's very good for pictures for the tourists, but we have no tourists. No, and it's our tradition. We have to keep our tradition like this. It's very important for us to keep our tradition. Then okay, in the winery we use those machines, this machine, but in the end, this is for you to make sure that the wine is perfect. And if we have to do it by hands, it will take too long. You see now the weather is kind of hot. When you pick the berry, you have to be quite quick to make sure that the berry go on a fresh vat for the maceration, for the infusion. So that's why we use a machine. Claire is opening the bottle because we will taste the wine, and we will start maybe the tasting if it's okay for you.
Yeah, I think we're ready.
Yeah, very good.
So today we've got Troplong. We got a Mondot 2017. Yeah.
We have a Mondot 2017.
Which is not released commercially yet, right?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Oh, you've got a nice tasting table all set up in the vineyard.
I cannot hear you.
Can you hear
Hello?
me? Yeah, I say you've got a nice tasting table all set up in the middle of the vineyard.
Sorry, I will plug my...
No worries. So everybody, today's tasting, we're going to start with the Mondot 2017. Like what Ferreol said, this is not their second wine.
Sorry.
It is a separate property, a separate pot altogether. And 2017 is not released commercially into the market yet. Although they've made this wine for, I think, first vintage is probably 2011, 2012, first vintage.
First vintage, this is Mondot 2017, first vintage of the new team, first vintage of Mr. de Gironde since we arrived, since the chateau was bought by this French company. So we are very proud of it. This is the first time we taste it out of the chateau. I mean, only us at the chateau had the chance to taste it before, and you are the first people to taste it.
Thank you very much. Yeah. So what is
this wine?
What is the first vintage of Mondot?
Mondot first vintage was 1985. And Mondot has always been not a second wine. You know, again, I'm from Burgundy and I will always compare with Burgundy. But in Burgundy, you have the Grand Cru and you have the Premier Cru. Mondot is our, I will say, Premier Cru. It's a different plot. It's a different part of the vineyard. It's a separate plot. And this wine is 100% Merlot and 100% from limestone soil. And if you compare with Troplong Mondot, which are a blend of Merlot, Cabernet Sauvignon, and Cabernet Franc from limestone and clay soil, so this is not the same wine. This is we really want to make sure that we have two kinds of wine. Mondot, we use less new oak. On this wine, we use 50% one vintage oak and 0 new oak. And 50% of the remaining wines are aged in a steel tank to keep the fruitiness, the crispiness. It's a wine which is, I mean, full of energy. We want to make it like this.
Lots of fruits character.
Yeah, this is the way we want to make our Mondot, and this Mondot is a reflect of the plot it's coming from. When you go on this plot, which is located on the northern part of our vineyard, you can dig for I would say 50 centimeters, and then you will touch the rock. You will touch the limestones. And in this wine, which is quite young, it was bottled last year, you can feel this fruit. You can see the color. It's quite pure. It's on the fruit. You have this minerality from the limestone, and this is what we want to keep. And yes, I see a question from Lee. We are reducing oak. True. Yes, we don't want to use any more oak. No more makeup. Our wines can absorb the oak, of course. They're strong enough for that. But I mean, every generation got his own idea of what is loved wine. Our generation want to make wines this way. And for a very good reason is we don't be anymore interventionist in the winery. We are not using anymore. We are not working. I would say no more extraction in the winery. So we make wine which are a bit lighter, more precise, and we don't want to use too much oak for that.
You're very particular about who are your tonneliers?
We work with 3-4 different tonneliers, and now we ask for oak which not give any taste of oak. I mean, we stopped to make the malolactic fermentation into the oak to avoid the toasty, the wood taste into our wines. But for Mondot, it's a different way to make it. Because it's coming from limestone, because it's Merlot. You know, Merlot can be sometimes a bit full body, a bit sweet. Those wines are very pure. And if you want to keep it pure, you have to be gentle in terms of aging.
Okay, there's a follow-up question from Mr. Li Haosheng, and he's asking how about the smaller stainless steel vats?
Because we build a new winery, the one you saw is not the new one. We will use the new one for the next vintage. Yes, we will have only stainless vats. We are using. I mean, there is no. We are not using small vats or not. I mean, they are the size is not. There is no matter of size for the taste of the wine. We use tronconic vats since now for more than 20 years. But the most important for us is to make sure that the grapes are stay very cold at 4.5 degrees for a few days, for 1 week to 10 days for the maceration. That's it.
Okay, and I do have a private question here and asking, you were saying that the 2017 Mondot is yet to be released. If that's true, when are you planning to release it? And who are the other people around the world who has tasted this wine?
So first, this wine, yes, will be released on the 29th of September through the Bordeaux merchant. We will sell it to the importers like Clique to the world. So today, you are tasting it. We are the first one out of Troplong Mondot who taste this vintage. Nobody, even the négociant, even the Bordeaux merchants, hasn't tasted this vintage. They will taste it next week. So you are the first one who tastes it.
Okay, and there's another follow-up question. So he asked, you are doing cold soaking now?
Yeah, of course. The way we harvest and we make the wine, we produce the wine. When the berries are coming into the vats, we keep them for 24 hours at 4.5 degrees. Then we take off the juice into another vats for 24 hours again to take off all the sediments, to keep only the pure juice. And then we bring back the juice into the grapes. And then we keep it for 1 week to 10 days, still at 4.5 degrees Celsius, to have a slow infusion before we launch the fermentation. So yes, we keep it very cold. It's very important for us.
Okay, so so far there's no more questions, so maybe we can proceed tasting the next wine.
Yeah, next wine, Troplong Mondot 2015. huge vintage here in Saint-Emilion, in Bordeaux. So we were testing the other wine, and now we are going on into our first Grand Cru Classé. This is the former owner wine. So you will have, of course, in this wine, a lot of Merlot, because Saint-Emilion, never forget that Saint-Emilion and the right bank of Bordeaux with Pomerol, we are the Merlot kingdom, I would say. This one is 85%, 90% Merlot, 8% Cabernet Sauvignon, and 2% Cabernet Franc. It's always, every vintage, more or less, this kind of blends, always, between 85 to 90% Merlot, always. At that time, this wine was harvested quite late. Today, Troplong Mondot, we harvest very early. We are always the first to harvest since 2017 because our berries are mature. I mean, the skin, the flesh, the seeds are perfectly ripe. But before Troplong Mondot, we were working with Michel Rolland in the past. And our wines were harvested very late, end of September. It was another way to make the wine. This wine is a bit more full body than the Mondot, of course. It's a blend of different grapes. You have the Cabernet Sauvignon and Franc, which bring the backbone to this wine. It's not on the juicy taste like the Mondot. It's more on the complexity and on the power than before.
Would you think that under Michel Rolland, he prefers a lot more extraction?
Yes, it was a different way to read the vineyard, different taste as well. At the same time, it's not Michel Rolland. I mean, Troplong Mondot got a very powerful vineyard because of the clay, because of the location. We are on the highest point of the region. There is a lot of wind, a lot of sun. It's always very mature, so the power is always here. And Michel Rolland was doing the wine in another way, of course. But at the same time, you can feel some minerality. You can feel some freshness into this wine, because in the end, after a few years of aging in the bottle, you cannot feel anymore the end of the winemaker. You feel only what is the terroir. We stop. I see the question from Julien.
Yes.
Julien, we stopped working with Michel Rolland in 2017. We decided to work with Thomas Duclos, who is a very good young consultant. And we love this guy because this guy is making the wine which are coming from the soil and not the wine he likes.
Do you think that in the current trend, right, because you come from Burgundy, so Burgundy, the conversations is about terroir, the conversations is about what's in the vineyard, what's in the land. Yeah, and coming from that background to Bordeaux, to me, the right bank, Pomerol, Saint-Emilion, are probably closer in terms of speaking about the land and terroir. So what reference do you have in this context?
That's why I'm here. I mean, that's why I left Burgundy for Saint-Emilion. Definitely, yes. Even more when we are on the top of the hill of Saint-Emilion, when you are on the plateau of the village or the Mondot hill, because our hill name is the Mondot hill. You have, imagine that, yes, we are on the top of this hill. It's a 38 hectares vineyard, 360 degrees view. We have vineyard on the north, on the south, on the east, on the west. Of course, Merlots from the north will not taste the same as Merlot from the south. And when we harvest today, we decided to subdivide all our plots into a lot of sub-terroirs. So today we have kind of 44, 45 sub-terroirs in our vineyard. So because, yes, there is not only terroir in Burgundy, there is terroir everywhere in France and a lot in Bordeaux and in Saint-Emilion.
Yeah, because if you think about it, right, it's like for your Mondot 2017, you are literally making 100% Merlot, single varietal. So if a single varietal, you have to be very precise on the different plots and how because you can't blend. And even for your Troplong Mondot 2015, you're talking about 90% Merlot and just 10% of Cab Sav and Franc.
Yeah, I mean, we are very confident on our vineyard. We have a super good technical director, very good. He's working here for more than 20 years now. And we are very confident into our vineyard, in our grapes. We planted Merlot at the right place. We planted Cabernet Sauvignon at the right place. So we know that at least it will be good. I mean, there is no big surprise every year. The only problem is, yes, if we have mildew, if we have botrytis, mushrooms, and so on, it could be a problem. But when you plant the right varietal at the right place, it's perfect. Plus, I forget to tell you, but we are working for more than 20 years with Claude and Lydia Bourguignon. They are two world-famous agronomes, and they help us to replant at the right place, the right varietal. But that's why we are more than confident into our way of work.
For me, I find that the 2015, it has very good phenolics. It has very good color, very good density.
I mean, it's ripe. There is body. I would say it's kind of sexy as well. I mean, I like it. I mean, for a young wine like this, it's easy to drink. I love it. Complexity will arrive through the years, but 15 definitely got everything from a super top wine. It's still young, only 5 years old, but always already a lot of pleasure. Never forget that wine is pleasure. There is, to me, a good wine has to be good even young. There is no reason to wait for 20 years to open a bottle.
Yes.
If you want to wait for 20 years, okay, you can do. But if you want to have pleasure, you can open it young as well. There is no reason to wait for 20 years.
It has to be balanced and elegant right from the beginning. Okay, now
yeah,
that
if it's sorry.
No, I say now that you have set the benchmark so high, starting from the 2015, shall we move on to the next vintage?
True. We will taste the big 2010. 2010 is one of our. We are very proud of it. Very proud of it. It's I would say a big machine. It was 99 points Parker. But Troplong Mondot always got very good mark from Parker. But this one was 99 points Parker. It's 98 today with this Aperitif Brown. Again, it's 90% Merlot, and there is, I guess, a mistake on this paper, but it's 8 Cabernet Sauvignon and 2 Cabernet Franc. There is always Cabernet Franc into our wines. So, this wine was quite shy last year again. Now it starts to open on more flavors, more pure flavors. It's funny to see our Troplong Mondot wines, after a few years of aging in the bottle, you can find more fruit, precise fruit. Your oak is going to be less and less present, less and less clear. And you go into a very pure complexity. 2010 is something special. This one you can see, you can of course keep it for decades and decades in your cellar. But today, after a few hours of decanting, you can enjoy it perfectly. Perfectly.
Okay, Ferreol, I have another question that just come in.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is, with the recent developments in the winemaking industry, especially in the winemaking process, is Troplong Mondot gearing towards implementing biodynamic or organic?
We have, in Burgundy, we trust in biodynamic and organic farming. I definitely trust in this way of farming, but I definitely trust that it's not working in Bordeaux at all. Burgundy and Champagne, they are in a continental region. It's not as rainy as here. It's not as humid as here. Here, humidity is quite violent. There is a lot of rain and then a lot of sun. It's perfect for mushroom. Perfect. Okay. And for disease. So we are we don't have the label of organic and biodynamic, but we use biocontrol products. There is no chemicals anymore for more than 10 years at Troplong Mondot. We are working with horses. Our neighbors, like La Mondot from Van Neperg, they are biodynamic. So we are working together to make sure there is no problem between our vineyards. But yes, we try to be, and we want to be, and we are very clean. We don't to put any chemicals in the vineyard. We work with biocontrol, and we do some tests in few plots with organic to make sure that we will find the right key to use organics and biodynamic in the future. But today it's not working very well, so that's why we remain, I would say, super clean with biocontrol products, which are used for organic. But we work our vineyard in the way it has to be driven. Troplong Mondot is Troplong Mondot. If you go in the Médoc, you will not drive the same way your vineyard. But here, today, it's quite tough to be organic. Quite tough.
Okay, just to clarify that answer, so basically you are implementing some of the techniques of biodynamic and organic. It's just finally it's not certified.
Not at all. Today we are working implementing for 1 hectare of our vineyard with organic and biodynamic.
Okay, and I do have another question here, and the question comes from Mr. Ricky Lee, and the question is, how do you decide how many % of Merlot to use for each vintage? Do you use more Merlot in a good vintage?
Now, you know Bordeaux, it's not like in Burgundy, we do blend wines. So, see the tractor? They go back to pick some grapes. Perfect. They go back to pick some Merlot. So every year we make. We harvest Merlot, then we harvest Cabernets. We vinify each varietal, each plot separately, and then when the wine is done after the malolactic fermentation, we taste each plot, each vats, each variety, and we taste to make some different blends, and the best blend will be the final blend. So we don't know at this moment if we will use more Merlot this year than last year. So it will be decided in January, not before.
Okay, another one. The 2010 Troplong Mondot has received a woeful 98 points from the Wine Advocate. And the recent EP, which is the 2019 vintage, shares the same rating. Do you think the 2019 is comparable to the quality of the 2010 vintage?
In a way, first of all, the weather, climate was kind of the same in 2019 and 2010. We had the same days of sun, same amount of days of rain. But the wine is kind of different in terms of taste, but in terms of quality, yes. To me, 2019 today, because it's my personal taste is one of our best wine. You had the 1990, the 2010, the 2005, and the 2019. Definitely, yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Now let's all proceed to tasting the Troplong Mondot 2006 vintage.
Very good. So we are back to the future, I was saying. 2006 is an interesting vintage. 2006 was the vintage where Troplong Mondot was elevated as the first Grand Cru Classé B. You know, in Saint-Émilion, there is 4 Grand Cru Classé A, like Ozone, Angélus, Pavie, and Cheval Blanc, sorry. And then there is 14 premier Grand Cru Classé B, like Canon, like Figeac, and Troplong Mondot. 2006 was the vintage of the elevation as the Grand Cru Classé B. So it's a historical vintage for us.
On the nose, it's already, you can distinctively feel the difference between the 15, the 10, and the 06.
06 was as the bad chance to be born right after the big 2005. You know, 2005 is 100 points per year for us. and was an amazing vintage. So he was not as famous as the 2005, because when you're born in the shadow of a big brother like 2005, it's tough to survive. But this vintage is a very serious vintage. This vintage 06 was kind of powerful. You see, there is still some tannins. We start to have this little hint of evolution, but a good evolution. And now, after 14 years, we have this complexity. You have the freshness, the fun of a young wine in 2015, but in 06 now we have this complexity of what is a mid-age old wine. It can age for years again, but now you have those kind of the third taste style. You have this kind of a bit of leather, a bit of, but you still have this fruit, which is still alive.
This, for myself, going through the 3 different wines, the 15, I thought a lot of flower notes comes to me first, like violets, and then when you go to the 2010, which is such a powerful vintage, it reminds me a lot more of the dark fruits. And now that you've got all 3 wines, the 2006 brings back the bouquet in the violets and the flowers, and it extends through the palate as well.
When you age, I mean, it's like people, it's like us. More we age, more we are gentle and kind, I guess. So 15 is still very, it's like a teenager. It's full of fun, very sexy, okay. 2010 start to be very serious, but and 2006 now, yes, this one is going a bit in a very gentle and smooth way to be drunk. Tannins kind of smoother than before. The fruit is not violent. It's to be very gentle and clever. You see with this tasting how can be the evolution of Troplong Mondot with very different vintage. Or 15 is a hot summer, hot vintage. 2010 is the perfect balance vintage like the 2019, and then we will have 2002, which is a cold vintage. But you will have always in all bottles the same roots, the same DNA, I would say. You will always find a bit of power from the Cabernet Sauvignon and from the clay soil, and you have always this hint of minerality, of kind of like a shulky taste. And this balances the power. If you have only power, it's a bit boring. If it's too fresh, it's not easy to drink. You need those two things to make it perfect. And in the end, this is a perfect picture of our soil. How is the 06 for you?
For me, the 06 is because I think when we were preparing for this tasting, we were discussing about a couple of vintages, what are the vintages that we want to show, and it didn't really dawn on me that from the discussions that we have, the 3 wines that we have over here is a showcase of 15, like what to say, it's a drier vintage. 10, it's very powerful vintage, and it shows a lot of density. It shows a lot of intensity in the varietal, in the wine. And the 06, it's although it's a weaker vintage compared to your 10 and 15, it is showing that balance, and it's showing the integration very nicely between density, between intensity, between the different layers. It's the different layers, the leathery notes, the violets, the flowers, it's slowly coming into play. And you still have a very smooth, grainy kind of tannins on the finish.
This is how it is the evolution of Troplong Mondot wines, always. And it's funny, and I can tell you, when I arrived, I tasted 30 vintage of Troplong Mondot to make sure that I understand the vineyard. And this is the evolution, always the evolution of our wines after 10, 20, 30 years. I saw a question about Malbec. Am I true?
Yes.
Yes. So no, we don't use anymore Malbec. Malbec was used maybe 30 years ago. Since this time, we don't use anymore Malbec. We don't have any more Malbec. We have only Merlot, Merlot Noir, Black Merlot. Black Merlot. Can you see me? Black Merlot, yes. Cabernet Sauvignon and Cabernet Franc only. And we source our Cabernet Franc in the Loire Valley, in Saumur.
So have you ever considered planting Petit Verdot?
No, at all. This is not Saint-Emilion style at all. No. We will not plant anymore. We will not plant any Spanish varietal as well. We are in Bordeaux. We are in Saint-Emilion. We plant only our 3 main varieties. We have to fight against climate change, of course. And the way to fight climate change is not with planting new varietal. It will be with working more in the vineyard, find a new way of planting with more density and so on. So we will only use traditional plant varietal of Bordeaux in Troplong Mondot.
So you believe in planting density. So you believe in having your vines densely planted to get them to fight, to challenge, and to be able to reach deeper.
Yeah, because traditionally in Bordeaux, in Saint-Emilion, we are at 6,500 rootstock per hectare. And in the new plantings, we are more than at 10,000, like in the Médoc, like in Burgundy. The idea is to make lower vineyard in terms of IS, to have less leaves, so I mean less chlorophyllization, and it means less alcohol. So we have to fight with alcohol. Plus, we decided to produce more wine, to produce more grapes, to make a better dilution, to avoid too sweet grapes and to avoid too much sugar and then too much power and then too much alcohol as well. So this is the few changes we made in the vineyard. So we prefer to work more than to find a bad medicine with plantings Touriga Nacional or some other vines.
Okay, a follow-up question. Do you green harvest, especially the younger vines?
Oh yeah. So we are not, of course we do green harvest because we cannot produce more than, we have a limit in terms of production by the law, the French law. So we have to be lower than 50 hectoliters per hectare. So we have to make green harvest a bit because we can do much more if we want here. We can go very easy to 100 hectoliters per hectare. But we have to cut. We have a very strong vineyard, very young vineyard. So yes, we do green harvest a little bit. And for the young vines, they are not making grapes for the top for the Troplong Mondot wine and Mondot wine not before 10 years. So you saw the little berries on the baby plant. We will cut it and let it on the floor.
Okay, so I think now we are heading towards the last wine, the Troplong Mondot 2002.
Yep, last wine, almost 20 years old, and this wine is my lovely wine. At this moment, I guess I'm drinking a bottle a day of 2002, because during the harvest we had the chance to have you saw that we have a chef, a Michelin star chef. He's cooking for us every day, and we are drinking 2002 every day because this one is very smooth. It's on the fruit. It's very gentle. So this vintage was a cold vintage. It was a very cold vintage compared to the others, and you see how Troplong Mondot can make good wines during a cold vintage. Okay, so you see the color, still very red. It's not, there is no evolution. Taste is fresh. Taste is very fruity, and oak is very well integrated. You have these crispy red berries on the taste, and this is what I like. And this is the magic of Bordeaux. This is the magic after 10, 20 years of aging. This is how Troplong Mondot can be. And this is why aging Bordeaux is amazing. Drinking it young is full of fun. Drinking it old is full of complexity and magic.
When Madame Violet was in the property, did she decide much on the blend? Did she decide much on the cépage and everything?
She was the one who decided everything.
Right.
She was the one who made that Troplong Mondot was famous as a superb, beautiful, wonderful chateau. Troplong Mondot was owned by this family for 80 years. So her father was not keen on having people at the property. He wanted to be under the radar. Okay, and she was the one who made Troplong Mondot going to another stage, to the other step of in terms of quality and renown. So yes, she decided about everything. She was the one who decided about the blends. Same as today. I mean, today, Aymeric de Gironde is the CEO. Is the one. We are a team of people for the tasting of the wine, and in the end, the final choice is made by Aymeric de Gironde, by the CEO.
So very nice expression. 2002, 2006, 2010, 2015. And 2002 is 85% Merlot, just a tad lesser than the current blend. So moving ahead, do you think there will be a vintage where Aymeric will be interested to do 100% Merlot?
For Troplong Mondot, never.
Never.
For Troplong Mondot, never. Troplong Mondot, Troplong Mondot estate, Troplong Mondot vineyard is total today 28 hectares plus 10 hectares to make Mondot. And our 28 hectares is made of two major soil, and we cannot use only Merlot. We have to blend it with a bit of Cabernet Sauvignon. And in the future, we are replanting a lot of Cabernet Franc to fight against the climate change. So within 10 years, the blend will be different. Will be 70% Merlot, 15 Cabernet Sauvignon and Cabernet Franc. This is the only change we will have.
Sorry, if you educate me a little bit, is Merlot maturing faster or Cab Franc?
Yep. Merlot maturing faster. You always harvest the Merlot first. Yeah. Merlot, they are always the first to harvest. Cabernet Sauvignon the second, and Cabernet Franc the last. That's why there is not a lot of Cabernet Franc in Troplong Mondot, because we are very high in terms of altitude, and by the past, before the climate change, it was not easy to make mature and ripe Cabernet Franc. Today, because of climate change, yes, it's quite easy to make it perfectly ripe. That's why we plant a lot of Cabernet Franc now. We will go from 2% of Cabernet Franc to 15% within 10 years.
And in terms of the characteristic of Merlot and Cab Franc, do you think over the next 10 years, you will see any stylistic changes?
Sorry?
Characteristics. Because obviously...
but the style, I guess, will have a small evolution. Of course, if you have more Cabernet Franc, you will have a little evolution in terms of style. But I will say it will be more structured. Real Cabernet Franc from limestone will bring a lot of it's like powder to the wine. It will bring some freshness, some fruit, and a very strong backbone. It will not change a lot the taste of the wine, because Merlot is always more powerful in terms of aromas than Cabernet Franc.
Okay, and amongst all the vintages that we have tasted, which one is your favorite?
Today, my favorite to drink today is 2002, definitely. I love 2002. Then I will say 2006 and 2015. Because there are two wines that makes me. I want to make a big party, a big lunch or a big dinner with those wines. 2010, I'm too shy. I mean, this wine is a big machine, and you have to open it with something which can match with it. And then you have the Mondot, which is the first step, the everyday wine, I will say. But if I have to choose a wine today, it will be 2002, definitely. This is my own taste again.
Now a little bit more to marketing. The label was the traditional label.
Yep.
2002. And then it moved on to 2006.
Yep.
A little bit cleaner. And then it moved on to 2010 and 15, a little bit more modern.
True.
Is there any ideas and thoughts about this in terms of commercial value, in terms of the wine that you're trying to, the people that you attract, the kind of style that's actually inside the wine?
So no, the reason is very simple. 2006 was the first vintage as Troplong Mondot for when Troplong Mondot was elevated as a premier Grand Cru Classé B. So they wanted to change the label to make it different, and they printed at the same time 7 and 8, 2007 and 2008 at the same time. But there is a big mistake on this label. I mean, the printer forget to print Chateau. It's only wrote Troplong Mondot, so it's not a brand. It's a true Chateau Troplong Mondot. So of course we don't work anymore with this printer, but we had to change it. So in 2009, we changed it for this label, which is much more Art Deco and kind of different. I mean, I like it. I like it because it's quite easy to recognize on the shelves and in the cellar. I can target my Troplong Mondot quite quickly with this label.
Okay, that's a good information. So it's like, yes, there is no Chateau in 2006.
No. Yeah, so 2006, 2007, and 2008 got this label without any Chateau mention on the label, not even on the back label.
Okay, Mr. Lee spoke about the comment. It's a good strategy to have more Cab Franc. So Troplong Mondot is going to the right direction.
Thank you, and we try to do our best again to be always on the top. This vineyard, this chateau, this location is absolutely marvelous. We are very happy to have this one-piece vineyard on the top of this hill. Those that different kind of terroir and sub-terroir, and we are very happy to make it like this. And we want to go this way to make the best wine possible. We are the new generation. We have a new vision of what is Troplong Mondot. We want to make wines which are the reflect of the soil and not the wine we like, but we will do the best wine possible for you in the future and today.
Yeah. Would you do any white wine?
Never. No. We can do white wines on the limestone, but the problem is here in Saint-Emilion, you cannot use the same winery to make different wines. Our winery is only here to make Mondot and Troplong Mondot. If we want to make wine, we have to make a new winery, a separate winery. So we will not produce any white wines. And plus, if you produce white wines in Saint-Emilion, it's not Saint-Emilion wines, it's Bordeaux wine.
It's Bordeaux. It's just Bordeaux Blanc, right?
Yeah.
So do you want to summarize? Is there any other questions that, do you want to summarize the 4 different vintages?
Sorry?
No, I think, I don't think we have any more questions, right?
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Lee basically just said that it is a good strategy to have more Cab Franc. You have Ozone, you have Cheval Blanc, that's all towards the direction of having more Cab Franc.
Yeah. And we work, again, we don't push to make, we only do things which are, which can connect with the soil. We will not do something which is not possible. I mean, same as a farmer, if there is no water, you never plant corn. If there is too much water, you can plant corn. I mean, it's as simple as this. We just choose the right soil to plant the right variety. And of course, we have a lot of limestones, and limestones can be perfect for Cabernet Franc. It's as simple. I mean, we are a bit not stupid, but we are very simple. We are farmers in the end. We are growing grapes, first of all. We are growing grapes, the best grapes possible to make the best wine possible.
I think that's a good discussion over here, because if you follow the direction that, you're just farmers, and very, 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 very good farmers, because you got to know the land so well, you got to know the climate, you got to know the altitude and everything so well, and to be able to read it's all about the feel and the taste at the vineyard. Yeah, and a good part of the wine is being done at the vineyard, and thereafter you let the winery take over. Let the wine develop.
In a very gentle way. I mean, we do nothing in the winery, no extraction, only infusion. We just let the grapes work by themselves. That's it. It's as easy as this. It's what I learned in Burgundy as well.
Yes, it is. So, Emerson, do you have any other words from our participants, from our guests?
None so far. I think Ferreol has explained all the wines pretty good. That's why our guests are satisfied with all the information.
Thank you.
So thank you very much.
Thank you. It was a very long way. It was a long time. I didn't speak in English for me. It was first, we cannot travel anymore. It's a new way of work. It's not easy to make a e-tasting like this. And I mean, I was very happy to do it with Wine Clique. Thank you very much, Wine Clique. Thank you for the people who tasted the wine. I would love to have you here at the property for a good tasting and then a good lunch. So once you can travel, feel free to join us at Troplong Mondot.
Yes, I think all the vineyard tour, by you showing us the soils, the vineyard, the terroir, is more than enough for us to ask more questions. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So over to you, Alice.
Yes, Ferreol, thank you very much again. Well, we wish you the best for the last couple of days of harvesting. And
thank you.
Yes, till the next time we meet. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye.